My Uncle Frank worked 40 years at the same company. The day he retired, he tossed his briefcase into the closet, poured himself a drink, and said, "Finally, freedom." But 6 months later, he called me, his voice hollow. "I've never felt so lost," he admitted. "What do I do now?" If that moment hits close to home, if retirement isn't the endless vacation you imagined, you're not alone. Retirement is a massive life shift, and even the best-laid plans can leave us feeling adrift. But here's the good news: regrets aren't inevitable. Today, we're unpacking 5 common retirement mistakes seniors make, and exactly how to avoid them, so your golden years stay golden. Let's start with the first 2. Mistake number 1: retiring from something, not to something. Most of us dream of retiring from the grind, the meetings, the commute, the alarm clock. But without a purpose, freedom can quickly turn into emptiness. My neighbor, Helen, learned this the hard way. After retiring as a nurse, she filled her days with TV and crossword puzzles. By month 3, she told me, "I missed the chaos of the hospital. I missed matching." The fix: design your second act before day 1. Ask yourself, what excites me? Teaching grandkids to fish? Volunteering? Starting a small business? Who do I want to be? A mentor? An artist? A traveler? Helen found her answer at the local animal shelter. She now trains therapy dogs for kids with disabilities. "I'm busier than ever," she laughs, "but it's my busy." Mistake number 2: ignoring the honeymoon phase, financial trap. Retirement often starts with a burst of freedom, trips, renovations, grandkid splurges. But that honeymoon phase can drain savings faster than you think. My buddy, Carl, blew through 30% of his nest egg in his first 2 years. "I treated retirement like a forever Saturday," he said. Turns out, Saturdays get expensive. The fix: follow the 3-bucket rule. 1. Short-term bucket, 1 to 3 years cash for daily life and fun. 2. Mid-term bucket, 4 to 10 years conservative investments, bonds, CDs. 3. Long-term bucket, 10+ years growth investments, stocks, real estate. Carl regrouped by meeting with a fee-only financial advisor. Now he budgets 4 splurge months and quiet months. "I still take my grandkids to Disney," he says. "But we drive instead of fly, and I'm okay with that." Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I've already made these mistakes? Let me tell you about my Aunt Lorraine. She spent her first year of retirement binge-watching soap operas and buying QVC gadgets. Then she joined a community garden, renegotiated her budget, and turned her QVC habit into a side hustle selling vintage collectibles. "Turns out, regrets are just lessons in disguise," she says. And guess what? We've only scratched the surface. Up next, we'll tackle the number 1 relationship pitfall retirees face: it's not what you think, and a health mistake that silently steals joy from millions of seniors. So grab a notebook, pour yourself a coffee, and let's keep going. Your best retirement isn't behind you, it's waiting to be built. Part 2 of 3, middle points. Let's pick up where we left off. You've designed your second act and safeguarded your savings. Now let's tackle 2 silent retirement regrets that sneak up on even the most prepared seniors. These aren't about money or hobbies. They're about who you share your days with and how you protect your greatest asset, your health. Mistake number 3: letting relationships drift on autopilot. Retirement isn't just a shift for you, it's a seismic change for your relationships. My friends Bob and Linda learned this the hard way. After 40 years of marriage, Bob's retirement turned their rhythm upside down. I'd follow her around the house asking, "What's next?" Bob admits. She finally snapped, "Get a hobby or get a divorce." It's not just spouses. Friendships fade when Friday lunches vanish, and adult kids assume you're too busy with grandkids to need connection. The fix: schedule intentional togetherness. With your partner, create new rituals, e.g., Tuesday breakfast dates, evening walks. With friends, start a monthly theme potluck, e.g., 70s night, travel stories. With family, set boundaries. Example: I love babysitting, but Wednesdays are my days. Bob and Linda compromised. He joined a woodworking club, and they plan one adventure afternoon a week. Last week, we tried pickleball, Linda says. We were terrible. But we laughed like newlyweds. Mistake number 4, treating your body like a museum piece. Retirement often comes with a subtle lie: you've earned the right to relax. But relaxing can quietly become stagnation. My neighbor, Mr. Thompson, spent his first year of retirement in his recliner, binging crime dramas. By year 2, his knees stiffened, his blood pressure spiked, and his grandkids nicknamed him Grandpa Snore. The fix: move like your future self depends on it, because it does. The 10-minute rule: do something active within 10 minutes of waking, stretch, walk, dance to one song. Strength: train smarter, use canned goods as weights. Do chair squats during commercials. Play like a kid, join a senior shuffleboard league, swim, or garden. Mr. Thompson started with 5-minute walks to his mailbox. Now he does water aerobics with a group he calls the Poolside Patriots. Turns out, my grandkids want to hike with me, he says. Who knew? Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but what if my partner refuses to change, or I've never been athletic? Let me tell you about my Aunt Marge. At 72, her husband refused to leave his lazy boy fortress. So she booked a solo trip to a painting workshop and met a group of vibrant widows who now travel together. He's still in that chair, she shrugs. But I'm in Tuscany. And if exercise feels daunting? Start with joy, not reps. My buddy, Sam, 68, dances with his dog every morning. We wiggle to Elvis. The dog's terrible, but my steps? Smooth as butter. Here's the truth: retirement isn't a finish line, it's a gateway. And the last mistake we'll tackle? It's the one that stings the most: waiting too long to leave a legacy. But that's a story for next time. So grab your calendar, lace up your sneakers, and meet me back here. Your most meaningful years are still ahead. Let's make sure they're unforgettable. Let's wrap this up with the regret that hits hardest, the one that keeps seniors awake at 2 a.m., wondering, did my life matter? This isn't about money, hobbies, or even health. It's about leaving a legacy that outlives you, and why waiting too long to build it is the stealthiest regret of all. Mistake number 5. Waiting too long to leave a legacy. My friend Evelyn, 78, spent decades caring for her Alzheimer's-stricken husband. After he passed, she felt invisible. Who'll remember us? She asked. Then she found a box of his old love letters and turned them into a memoir for her grandkids. Now they know him as the poetic, funny man I fell for, not just sick grandpa. A legacy isn't about grand gestures or fat checks to charities. It's about imprinting your wisdom, stories, or kindness onto the world. And here's the secret: you don't need a memoir or a trust fund to do it. The fix: start small, start now. Share your skills, teach a neighbor's kid to knit, cook, or fix a carburetor. Record your stories, use your phone to film 5-minute memory snippets for family. Volunteer strategically, tutor refugees, foster shelter pets, or plant trees in your town. My Uncle Joe, 82, thought he had nothing to offer until his church asked him to mentor troubled teens. Turns out, surviving Vietnam and a messy divorce made me the perfect life coach, he says. Now I've got 12 grandkids who text me memes and fishing pics. Bringing it all together. Let's revisit those 5 retirement regrets and their antidotes. 1. Retiring from something, not to something. Design your second act with purpose. 2. Overspending the honeymoon phase. Budget with the 3-bucket rule. 3. Letting relationships drift. Schedule intentional connection. 4. Neglecting your body. Move like your future self depends on it. 5. Waiting to leave a legacy. Share your gifts now, not someday. But here's the truth, regrets aren't life sentences. My Aunt Lorraine spent her 60s convinced she'd missed her chance to matter. At 70, she started a YouTube channel teaching vintage sewing techniques. Last month, she hit 100K subscribers. Turns out, old lady skills are trendy, she laughs. Your retirement reinvention starts today. Maybe you're thinking, but I've already made these mistakes. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Hank. At 75, he'd burned through savings, alienated his wife, and let his health slide. Then he took one tiny step. He apologized to his daughter, started walking laps in his driveway, and began volunteering at a food bank. It's not perfect, he says. But for the first time, retirement feels like a beginning. Your legacy isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, even if you're limping, learning, or laughing at yourself. Your challenge. This week, pick one regret to tackle. Teach a grandkid your famous chili recipe. Write a letter to your future great-grandchild. Or simply dance in your living room like nobody's watching, because nobody is. Then come back here and tell me about it. Did you find joy? Spark a connection? Surprise yourself? I'll be reading every comment, celebrating your wins. And if this video resonated, share it with a friend. Tag someone who needs a nudge to leave their mark, or a reminder that it's never too late to rewrite their story. Hit subscribe and ring that bell. We've got more heart-to-heart talks about thriving, not just surviving, in retirement. Here's to your legacy. May it be messy, meaningful, and unforgettable.